people have thought about what they want their children to be like. Some may want only boys or only girls. Others may want blonde-haired, blue-eyed children or tall, athletic children. What would you do if there is a way to ensure that your child possessed all the qualities you wanted them to? In the coming years, genetic engineering will allow people to pick the kinds of traits they want their baby to possess. My question is, what happened to just being happy if you had a healthy child? According to dictionary.com, genetic engineering is the development and application of scientific methods, procedures, and technologies that permit direct manipulation of genetic material in order to alter the hereditary traits of a cell, organism, or population. At first, this technology was only used for medical purposes, such as screening for and preventing some of the most serious genetic diseases. Soon after, however, doctors started using it to allow parents to pick the gender of their baby. And now, doctors and scientists are taking it all a step further by allowing them to choose certain genes and traits they would like their baby to have. This has outraged many people, including myself. The term designer babies has become very common when referring to genetic engineering. The most well-known example of a designer baby comes from this book. In this book, My Sister's Keeper by Jodi Picoult, two sisters, Kate and Anna, are thrown together in life when Kate is diagnosed with acute promyelocytic leukemia. None of her family is a genetic match, and so scientists use a technique called pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, or PGD, to reduce her younger sister Anna. This ensures that Anna is a perfect bone marrow match for Kate, and doctors will be able to use her whenever her sister needs a transplant or transfusion or anything else. Anna is never able to be a child, however, because she must always be close at hand in case her sister gets sick again. By the time she is 13, she has undergone countless procedures, surgeries, transfusions, shots, and all that in order to help her sister. She has not been viewed as an individual person. She has always been defined in terms of Kate. At the age of 13, she takes matters into her own hands and decides to sue her parents for their right to her own body. The book brings about the question of whether it is morally correct to do whatever it takes to save a child, even if that means infringing upon the rights of another. The story was an intriguing one to me, and I spent a lot of time while reading it thinking about what I would do if I was a parent. This is a very controversial issue, but I totally disagree with PGD. I could not have a child just so they could be used to save their sibling. What about all the pain and suffering that child would have to endure during the testing and transplants and everything else it took to be a donor? I couldn't even stand watching one child suffer, let alone another. How could you stand telling your child that you had them specifically designed so they could save their sibling? They would have no say in the matter, and it takes away their rights as a child. They would not only have the physical pain to endure, but also the emotional pain of you telling them they can't go to camp or they can't move too far away from college because they have to be close by for their sibling. Using genetic engineering for medical purposes is not the most controversial point in the new technology. Just allowing parents to pick the gender of their baby has raised plenty of issues. Doctors first started using the practice in order to prevent X-linked chromosome disorders such as hemophilia, muscular dystrophy, and Fragile X syndrome. It did not take long for families to start using this to help balance their families, though. In places where boys are valued more highly than girls, such as China and India, the balance of boys to girls will be tipped even further than it already is. In the U.S., that is not expected to be a problem because surveys have shown that an equal number of families want boys as girls. But the same studies also show that many Americans believe an ideal family consists of a boy as the eldest child. Boys are usually more assertive and dominant than girls, as are firstborn children. If people start using PGD to make sure their firstborn child is a boy, the population will be skewed towards doubly dominant firstborns. In turn, this will make it even harder to get rid of gender role stereotypes in society. Many ethical questions are also raised concerning genetic engineering and PGD. Many argue that the main goal of this is disease elimination, which they consider a good thing. This is done by identifying embryos that are carrying a genetic disease or disorder and then discarding the ones that they see unsuitable for implantation. But many disability rights groups disagree strongly. These groups bring up many great points, such as the fact that people with disabilities should not be seen as a group that needs to be eliminated from society. They view this testing as a form of discrimination and argue that considering people with disabilities not normal takes out that diversity in life. It also takes out a sense of caring and compassion in society. In addition, many of these diseases that are tested for can be or do not produce symptoms until later in life. If they're screened for early, they can be tested or they can be treated early, and the person can possibly lead a full life. If some of the diseases can be treated, it makes the use of PGD outrageous. Now comes the even more controversial issue of choosing certain traits for our children to possess. Some of the traits parents will be allowed to consider are hair color, eye color, weight, height, athletic ability, and intelligence level. Many of you have seen these dolls that come with different outfits that you can put on them. Now think of walking into a doctor's office and being able to sit there and pick out your hair color for your baby, your eye color, your height. That's just outrageous to me. Whatever happened to being happy with what God gives you? By choosing the traits you want your child to possess, you're placing more value in who you want your child to be and not allowing them to be who they want to be. Society is placing more value on the looks of a child instead of their personality. People do not realize what really matters in life anymore. As Dr. Arthur Kaplan, director of the Center of Bioethics at the University of Pennsylvania, argues, who's to say what's the better trait? Is it better to be redheaded than it is to be brown-haired? Is it better to have freckles or not? Those sorts of things are subjective and in some ways driven by our culture. By choosing the traits that they hope the child will possess, parents are putting a lot of pressure on the child. What if they do not live up to their expectations? Are they going to blame the doctors? Another problem arises when you look at the cost of designing a baby. Obviously, it's going to be extremely expensive, and therefore the rich will be at more of an advantage. Yet another worry is that children will become more like a commodity designed by parents to fit into their world as an accessory instead of an individual with their own rights. If it is taken to the extreme, PGD will create a race of perfect, unblemished, stereotyped people. The only variety will come in the fashion that they choose. In the future, PGD may split the human race into two strictly defined categories. Lee Silver, a Princeton University biologist, believes that society may possibly end up splitting into the Gen Rich and Gen Poor. These terms refer to those who were designed and those who were not. What has happened to valuing the diversity of others in life? Genetic engineering and designer babies are terrible for everyone involved. It takes away that diversity in life and places false expectations in children. People start valuing looks and abilities more than just accepting others as they are. Parents need to start realizing what is really important in life, such as being happy with whatever God gives them. In the Bible, it states in Genesis 1:27, so God created humans in his image. In the image of God, he created them. It says nothing in there about children being created in their parents' view. God creates everybody unique just as he wants them. Parents need to stop trying to design their own baby just because that's the kind of child they want to have. Children should be allowed to choose who they want to be as they grow up instead of trying to live up to expectations of their parents and doctors. People need to realize how lucky they are to even be able to conceive a child and stop trying to design their own. Society will lose focus on what's really important in a person if the abuse of PGD to make designer babies does not stop.